That's because we didn't have the mic
How's that?
plugged in.
See, this is exactly why we do this, Chandelin. This is why we...
Can you imagine we did the whole thing? Nobody could hear us.
I know, it would have been challenging.
Now everybody missed my funny joke that I said initially.
Yeah, so we can start again. And thank you, Chandelin, for helping out with that. But we were just mentioning that we are back. Kayl was in a seminar last week last weekend when I did the live stream. And how are we? Hopefully we're coming in okay now. Let me just see if I can get some more of these monitors up. Okay, it looks like we're okay at this point. It's hard to know though, but this is why we do the pre-show, so that we can chat with you guys and make sure that everything's running okay. But you see Funky Monkey is joining us. Now, she's hard to see.
She is hard to see. It's almost like I'm wearing a scarf or something.
Yeah, I know. It's with the dark floor. It's hard to see her, even with all the lighting that we've got. So that's kind of surprising.
That's because she's as black as the night.
Mm-hmm. And we're actually going to be talking about you at some point today, I think, Funky Monkey. So if you guys know who Funky Monkey is, you can learn a little bit more about her. But
she's the best. Yes,
yeah, she's pretty good.
Well, she's the best to me, not necessarily Ken.
Well, she's not bad though. I mean, she just doesn't. She's a one-person dog.
She very much.
Yeah,
is
she's definitely. She listens to Kayl better than she listens to me, but she's still sweet and quite a suck in the house with me as well.
She's giving me a hand cleaning.
Mm-hmm, it's gross. It's really gross.
Ken doesn't like when dogs lick him.
No,
it doesn't bother me.
Okay, here we go. So we're going to
Chandelin said I was trying to lip read.
Yeah, well, thank you for doing that, Chandelin.
Chandelin, I had to say that when I watched Ken do his live stream all by himself last week, I was laughing because he was talking about like his future wife, and it was like so cute. But then he said that we were getting married in May. And we're not getting married in May.
In April.
We're getting married in April, so he didn't even know the month.
It was a very busy live stream. It was difficult to get going. Okay, hysterical. So let's start our show. Hi there, guys. Welcome to McCann Dogs Live. If you were with us last week, you would have seen my live stream talking about Deegan and how that amazing black lab of mine shaped my life. She changed the direction of my life, and how grateful I am for her. Now today we're going to find out who the dogs that had the greatest influence on Kayl McCann's life, and how Kayl McCann became an agility trainer, to such an extent that she had a career in dog agility.
I had. Did I lose it?
Has. Yeah, you have a career in dog agility. So I'm Ken Steep.
I'm Kayl.
Welcome back to McCann Dogs. So there are going to be some pretty great pictures, and Kayl's actually brought some pictures from. We have a picture wall beside our treadmill in the dog room, and we've got some pretty cool pictures. I think you guys will enjoy. If you know Kayl's dogs, if you know Kayl, we've got some pretty awesome pictures to talk about how you guys, but.
They're pretty old.
Yeah, they are pretty old, but it's fun to look back and remember those dogs. I talked about the significance that all of these dogs have on our lives, and it's funny how much impact they can really have. You don't realize it at the time, but each of these dogs leaves an impression on us.
Yeah, we were obviously talking about this because of Ken's live stream last weekend with him speaking of Deegan. But this week while I was teaching, I had a student come up to me and ask me a question that kind of like caught me off guard a little bit. So Jose, if you're watching, I know you watch a lot of our stuff. Jose with Bella, a little sheepoo, she's super cute. He said, when did you first realize that you had a passion for dogs or love dogs?
Yeah, it's a great question.
I really didn't know how to answer, which is so strange, but I guess it's because it's instilled in me. I was sort of born into it, so it wasn't like all of a sudden one day I was like, hey, I kind of like dogs. I kind of like doing dog stuff. It was just something that I grew up around, and I just sort of, I don't know, I didn't really know anything else. But oddly enough, my brother and sister, obviously, I have a brother and sister that would be around dogs just as much as I am. And they both love dogs a lot. They have their own dogs, that type of thing, but they're not nearly as invested in the dog stuff as I am. But my parents never really pushed it on us. They just sort of let us do it if we wanted to, and then when we had other interests, they were good with that too. I mean, we did like a million things when we were kids growing up, sports and stuff, but I always seemed to do agility and fly ball and all that stuff, even though I had options not to. Probably kept me in a lot of trouble, actually.
Yes, likely. Yeah, you were also a troublemaker when you were a kid. But I think that's really important. You know, your mom and dad gave you, you know, it wasn't all about dogs and dog training. So for anybody who doesn't know, just tell our audience your mom and dad's experience in dog training.
Yeah. So my mom and dad started our family dog training business, McCann Professional Dog Trainers, when I was born. Back in 1983. No, 3.
They started in 82.
Oh, I was born in 83. Don't make me any older than
that. No. It's another awkward moment for Chandler.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Anyways, so they started a business, and back then it was very small. They were sort of, renting gymnasiums and renting space to have classes. And when I was 3, they got me a dog, and all growing up, basically, we had all kinds of dogs. And at one time, I think we might have had like 15, 18 dogs. My parents were really into flyball back then and a whole bunch of other things. So we had a lot of dogs. That's certainly not the case now, but when I was growing up, I was just used to having dogs around all the time. I was used to learning, feed the dogs, walk the dogs. We lived on, by the time I was 3 or 5, I think, we moved on to our big property that we have now, which looked nothing like it does now. Mm-hmm. But basically, like, I learned to walk the dogs around the property, and I was just really, really involved with that.
And how old were you at this time?
I was 5 when we moved there.
Okay.
When I started like being a little bit more with like the care of the dogs, I think I was probably like 6 or 7 years old.
Yeah.
And I was like adamant that I do it. So I had a little border collie. They got me a border collie when I was 3. Yeah. Named Piper. She's the best dog ever.
No, just hold on one sec, because if we could have Marty and Deb McCann tell these stories, like there's a lot of really funny stories about how adamant Kayl was that she were the trainer of the dog, even as a tiny little child. So this is.
I've always been a little strong-willed.
Yes, well, you're telling me.
Yeah. Anyways, I had this dog, and my parents, most parents get dogs for kids and are like, okay, if I get you this dog, you're gonna have to walk it, you're gonna have to feed it, you're gonna have to look after it. But my dad was already looking after 15 other dogs, so he was like, I'll just walk your dog too. And I was like, no, you won't. I'm gonna walk my own dog. I'm gonna feed my own dog. She had to have a crate in my room. Mm-hmm. Like, she was my dog, and we lived in the country, so I'm gonna make myself sound like a big loser right now. But unless we were at school, I didn't really I wasn't like living in a neighborhood where you could just spend like time. I have funky hair all the time. My nose right now. Mm. You couldn't spend time playing with your friends at the park and stuff like that. I would have to be driven somewhere to do that. So I spent a lot of time with the dogs and with this one dog, going on little adventures around my property. I ran away with her one time. I got really mad.
This doesn't surprise me.
And I packed my wheelbarrow full of stuff and a bag of Oreo cookies and a can of soup, which I wouldn't have been able to open.
Yeah, you don't think of these things when you're a kid.
Piper, and then off we went, and I think I went to I don't know, the woods on the other side of our property, probably 50 feet away. And I stayed for a couple hours. I thought I would really drive it in there. Nobody really cared though, because I figured they knew I would just come marching back home, and I was not mad anymore. But I think it was 7 or 8 when I did that. Anyway, she's my best friend.
Yeah. And so that was your first, your own dog. That's the first dog. So, over time, you decided that you wanted to be a trainer, be a dog trainer. As you got a little bit older, you'd raised and trained a few dogs. So were you competing or doing demos in agility before? So let's talk about your first agility demo, your first experience with agility. When was that?
Oh, I was doing agility demos as a very, very young child.
Yeah. So just to clarify for anybody, the McCann Professional Dog Trainers has been doing shows for, places all over Canada, all over the world.
And we also did, when I was little, we did the Calgary Stampede.
Right.
We did the Indianapolis boat show.
Okay.
I can't remember the exact name of it right now, which is really terrible. Anyways, we did a whole bunch of stuff like that. The Stampede was super fun. We did that for years and years and years. But yeah, I was just a little kid then. I would do the demos, but it was interesting because right from then I was learning how to memorize courses and how to run the dog around a course and things like that. And Piper was She was a pretty, like, she wasn't like a crazy fast border collie, but she was pretty decently fast. But she was just so honest that she just would do whatever I wanted. She was so good. And my mom at the time, it was really funny. So I was like 6. Actually, I have a picture of Piper, and I don't know if you can see it.
Hold it up there here so I can get it right in frame.
So that's the first agility award I ever won at an actual competition. I don't know how old I am. There might be like a date on there or something.
I don't see one.
Yeah, I don't know. I look like 7, maybe, or 8. Yeah, I was young. Anyways, but before I was actually competing for real, I was doing these demonstrations, which was a lot of fun. And then when I started to compete, I had this dog that was like really like my parents helped me with a lot of her training, obviously, because I was just a kid. Yeah. Although I did teach a lot of the agility myself. And again, agility back then is nothing like it is now.
It has changed a lot over the years.
Yeah, it was like...
And how long was that? 20 years ago?
Yeah, something like that, 20 years ago. Anyway, so my mom used to get really frustrated. Well, she tells me now that she get frustrated because she had this wicked fast border collie named Bingo that she could barely get around a course without like going off course. So I would compete with Piper and she would compete with Bingo, and I would beat her continuously. Right. I didn't really even get what was going on, but her dog would go off course because he was like so much better than my dog. Yes. But really fast, and she couldn't get him through. And then here's me and Piper just started tooting along, and we did a good job together. She was a lot of fun. But like I said, we were doing agility very differently back then. You know, it was good though. People always ask me, how can you memorize courses so easily? Because I can memorize them really fast, but it's just because I've been doing it since I was a kid. Like my mom sat me down when I was little and was like, okay, here's how you memorize courses. And I just sort of figured it out. But then she helped me a lot. My mom and dad helped me. My mom will tell this, she's really cute. So when I was little, they were like my coaches, and they would go to all the competitions and stand outside the ring. And my mom would help me walk the course and help me look for traps and all that kind of stuff. And then I started to get good. And then I was like, I don't really need your help anymore. I got this. And a couple times my foot was in my mouth and I screwed up. And then...
This is how Kayl has to learn, though.
I know. Like, I'm so stubborn.
Yeah, consequences.
And then somewhere along the way, I just started to figure things out. And then now my mom's in my classes, and she's so funny. She's always, like, asking me how to do things. I mean, agility is totally different now, but, like, it's just the rules have changed.
Yeah, and I think
she's a really good student. My dad, not so much. I hope you're listening, Dad.
Yeah, your mom, she's so
my
receptive.
Dad is more like me. Well. He's more of like, I'm going to figure this out on my own. And my mom is more studious.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So that's got to, well, let's get back to that. Let's get back to the idea that, you know, that your mom, you're helping your mom, you're teaching your mom how to do agility. But let's jump back a little bit, because your mom and dad ran, still run a very successful dog training business. When did you get into the obedience side of things? When did you start to become a family dog obedience trainer?
Well, I was capable of teaching classes when I was a young teenager, but my parents wouldn't let me because the adults that were in the class paying for classes didn't really know me or know my knowledge. So for a first couple of years, I think when I was 15 or maybe 14, I just started working in the office, and I was answering phones, and I was helping to fit, you know, equipment and sign people up for classes, and, you know, just doing sort of all the other things that need to be done besides teaching classes. And then I think when I was 16 or so, I started just helping out with classes. I don't even think I was like actually one of the instructors. Yep. I was just like out on the floor. But I think quickly I was able to establish myself as like somebody who knew what was going on. Yeah. Because I did know a lot about dog training. I mean, I was surrounded by it all the time. Right. At dinner, we would be talking about dog training. I would go and sit in the back of the hall, and I would watch all of my parents' trainers train their dogs. And one of my great friends, Robbie Stevenson, I always tell her this. When I was little, I used to sit in the back of the hall and I would watch her train her dogs in agility. Yep. And I would just be in awe of like how awesome she was with her dogs.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to do that. Like, I want to do it better.
Yeah.
Than just
I hope Robbie's
running around.
watching, or Robbie
Yeah. Oh, I
watches
tell
the
her this
replay of
all the time.
Yeah.
She's my inspiration. Now she laughs at me because she hasn't done agility in a while. But yeah, she was so smooth and she could do all these crosses.
Yeah.
And that's when like agility was changing. Like that's when stop contact started to come about.
And
that's
when
like,
would you say that was? Like when did you start to see the change?
This was, so Ping Pong was born in 1999. So this was probably like early in 1990s. That like stop contacts was starting to become like more popular. And like actually doing crosses, like where you would like legitimately front cross, like on purpose,
right,
opposed to like just get your dog around.
Right.
Like when I first started contacts, for example, you would tell your dog to go over the contact, and then you would tell them to wait at the top of the A-frame.
Okay.
And then you would have them come down one slat at a time. So you'd be like, okay, wait. Okay, wait, all the way down. And as soon as one paw would go in the yellow, you would release them and go to the next thing. Like it was so inconsistent and I know, Monk, and so slow, but like hilarious to think.
Yeah, and
that was just the way you did it.
It was so dramatically different. And knowing what we know now, it's going to be challenging for the dog to understand what exactly is going on there.
I know. I didn't notice at the time, but they seemed like they were having fun. So.
Yes, yeah. But I think now maybe the focus has changed a little bit. But before we get too far off track here, I want to ask you guys that are in the stream right now, are you a dog agility competitor? Are you starting a dog in dog agility, or do you want to start a dog in dog agility? Let us know in the chat, because I find that stuff really interesting. We have quite a wide variety of people who watch the channel, and quite a lot of dog agility fans, I think, for sure.
That's right.
So you mentioned Ping Pong very briefly. Now, your Kayl McCann dog's logo is a picture of Ping Pong.
Yep.
So talk about Ping Pong. Who Ping Pong was, her significance in your dog agility, what breed maybe she was?
So after I got Piper and I started to do competing, and I started to do such a weird picture.
Notice the fancy picture. We don't have to hold the picture up.
I got her. Before I got her, I had another mixed breed named Cosmic, and he was a Whippet Border Collie Jack Russell, which is like really crazy to think of at the time, although they're like super popular now. At the time, it seemed like a pretty unusual mix. And he was pretty good, but I was like 12 or 13 when I got him, so I was still trying to figure out how to like train a dog on my own and to get him to listen, and he was a terrier, and he was pretty good, but like I had some real challenges with him.
Right.
He's a good dog, but just sometimes he didn't listen to me. Anyway, so then I got Ping Pong when I was 14, I think. Maybe 16, I don't remember. I can't remember. She was born in 1999, so however old I was at that time. You can do the math. You're better at math than me. Anyway, so when I got her, she was a Border Collie bred to a Border Jack. So she was 3/4 Border Collie and 1/4 Jack Russell. And she was the first dog that... Funky. She found the toy box. Hey, come over here. Lie down. She was the first dog that I sort of realized had the potential to be competitive. So, and at that time, a lot of the agility training was changing. So I was ready to start doing a little bit more competitive thought, behind things. And I had competed lots before that in all kinds of organizations and just gone for titles and that type of thing. But then when I got Ping Pong and I started to get a little bit more serious about it, then I started doing things like, wanting to compete in regionals or nationals and things like that, which is not something that I did prior to her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, that was had to be exciting when you were getting more excited about agility, and you had a dog that was capable.
Yeah,
of
and
being
she was
successful.
really, really keen. Like, she wasn't like super off the wall, but she was super motivated. She had so much heart. Like anything that
Funky's going for a little tour.
Yeah, she was just a fabulous dog. She was, very level-headed. Yeah, she was awesome. She was an awesome, awesome dog to train.
Now, she was the first dog that you competed on a world stage with.
Yeah, so she was look how cute she is.
I know.
Yeah, she was the first
and
dog.
And that's Ping Pong at the top for you.
Yeah, she's the one with the big ears sticking out. She was the one that I started doing more competitive agility with, obviously. And then I competed in 2003 at the Nationals, and I earned a spot on the 2004 IFCS team.
It's pretty exciting. You must have been ecstatic.
I was 18 at the time, and it was like a big deal. Yeah. It was a big deal. To me anyways. It was pretty exciting. And we went to Spain, and it was a trip that I've been to lots of world championships, but I still remember that one very, very vividly. It was a very interesting trip for lots of reasons, but yeah, ping pong was great, and I think we ended up winning something there. I didn't win first there. I think I won like maybe a silver or a bronze or something. Okay. I don't remember what it was in now. A jumping course maybe. Okay. I don't remember. The World Championships, it worked a bit differently back then than it does now, so it's hard to kind of remember them all. But yeah, that was pretty awesome.
But you'd had a taste of international dog agility, and you were sure at that point you're going to commit more time and effort. 100%
hooked. Like that's what I wanted to figure out how to do better.
Right,
sure.
Right. So Ping Pong was the first dog to put you on the world stage. Let's talk about
She was the first dog, so she was however old at that time, what, 6? 5? 2004, 5. So she actually continued to take part in world level agility up until she was 11 years old. Okay. And at 11, at my last world championship, she went every single year. I won a silver medal with her. Wow. At 11.
Yeah. Pretty amazing.
She was an awesome dog.
Yeah. And when we talk, we're teaching agility classes, and you talk about a dog that will bark at people when they're going slow. Was Ping Pong one of those dogs? If she felt like you should be going faster, she will let you know.
If I was late on like a front cross or something, she'd bark at me. Yes. She was awesome if I would have my students handle her, because if they were incorrect, she was just really good about it. She would just bark and be like, "Get out of my way," or "Tell me what to do." She's really funny that way.
Yeah. We asked if anyone had an agility dog or was thinking about competing, and Chandelin Blake says, yes, my first dog. We're just entering advanced in AAC.
Oh, nice.
Well, it's a very exciting point to be at as you're starting to reach those higher levels for sure.
That's awesome.
So let's talk about your next dog. So you've got that. You've got that taste for international competition agility. You're loving dog agility training. Ping Pong is a great dog to work with. Loves to work. Let's talk about the next dog that you compete with. Who's the next one? Because you've been very successful on the international level with how many dogs?
6 or 7 now.
So and at varying jump heights, right? Like so these are different groups of competitors.
Yeah, Ping Pong was at the medium jump height, and then the next dog I got was Jitterbug. She's a border collie, and she was obviously at the large jump height because she's a bigger dog. And I got her because my mom owned her mom, and I used to run that dog a little bit when I was younger, and I really liked her. So I ended up getting Jitterbug, and I was really excited to get Jitter because it was like I hadn't had a border collie since Piper, obviously, and I was just excited to have a more competitive dog.
And here's a great little fact. Yeah, maybe. So here's a great little fact about Jitterbug. Jitterbug was actually my first agility dog. Now, I was a trainer at McCann Dogs for several years, and when we'd go to demos, and this was a great thing about Jitterbug. She's also my first flyball dog. The first dog I competed at flyball with. But she was just an amazing dog, loved to work, and she was, anybody could handle her. Anybody.
She was the sweetest,
She was the sweetest dog. But she was also the first dog that I competed in. Well, we did shows with. But Jitterbug was a great dog. But for you, she was very successful. Yeah,
she did really well. Not initially. Initially, she was like much higher minded than Ping Pong was, so I really struggled with her. I can remember back to one of the very first regional championships I went to, and I was doing a jumpers course, and I think she went off course in every imaginable spot that she could. And I remember like going back to the tent after that and being like, I don't think I can do this. This is Ping Pong was so easy. Right. And Jitterbug was not so easy. But anyways, we got better as time went on.
But and I just want to stop you right there for a minute because I know of a good story about Jitterbug. with the tunnels. And are you talking about that same event? Yeah. So Jitterbug would just loved the tunnels, and I think it'd be adorable knowing Jitterbug, but it had to be frustrating when you're on the course.
She just kept going in the tunnels over and over and over again, and I think I got
it's a high-minded dog.
Minus. It was at a regional, so they take points off when you go off course, as opposed to just giving you a fault. And I think I was in the minus thing. It was.
You don't want to be.
It was really bad.
In the negative. No,
it was bad.
No. However, you worked with Jitter. You worked through some of this intensity and got her a little more focused. And what happened next with Jitter?
I ended up figuring her out. We got a lot better, and then she made the 2006 team.
Okay.
Actually, what had happened at the same time is I had another border collie that I had got after, named Slice, which turned out to be the best dog I've ever had in my whole entire life. But that's a whole other story. But anyways, Slice at the time was faster than Jitter. She was really good, but I got so Ping Pong, actually that picture you showed with the three of them up there. Mm-hmm. So this year, I think it was this year or maybe the year before this. So no, this was 2008.
Okay.
So in 2006, those three dogs made the team, the world team. So I made it with Ping Pong again. I made it with Jitter, but Slice made it as an alternate. And she was only 2 years old or something at the time.
Yeah.
No, 3 years old. And she was faster than Jitter, but completely out of control. So if I was going to go clean, it was going to be a great run, but the likelihood of me going clean was very small.
Yeah, it's so exciting though. Those runs
it was.
Are
that's what I loved about it. So I hummed and hawed, and I thought, and Slice was the first alternate, so I thought, maybe I won't take Jitter and I'll take Slice because I could really win with her if I can put it together.
Okay.
Because she was a bit faster than Jitter, and I thought, no, you know what, I'm going to take Jitter because Jitter made the team.
Yeah.
Slice needs another year to get better, so that's what I did. So anyways, I went, Ping Pong did very well. She won lots of stuff while she was there, but not any first place. Just she wasn't always the fastest dog, but I could pull out a third or a second, no problem with her. Anyways, and then I ran Jitter, and Jitterbug ended up having a perfect weekend. So I went clean in every single run.
Okay.
But I didn't win any individual rounds. I just I won some seconds and some thirds and some fourths and whatnot. So at the end of the competition, I was feeling really happy about that because we just had a great weekend, but I didn't think it was good enough to win anything. So they started to announce all of the winners, and they announced third place and they announced second place, and I was laughing with somebody and not paying attention, which is pretty normal for me, because I just figured, that's okay. I was happy with what we did, and all of a sudden they announced my name with Jitterbug, and I was like, what? And I guess because she had gone clean and it was a cumulative over the whole thing, she ended up winning the world championship. So anyways, I was like, what? So anyways, we ran up, and it was a very emotional. It was the first time I ever stood on the podium. It was the first time I ever heard my national anthem playing, except my dog is super, super friendly.
Yes.
So this is what happened.
Oh, hang on one second. I'll just get rid of this. Get that a little bit better light.
So I don't know if you can see, but there I am on the first place podium. And actually, this guy from England, who I still see from time to time, he's awesome. Jitterbug spent the entire national anthem leaned up against this third place guy so that he could pet her. That is so Jitter. She loved all people. She loved to be snuggled. She loved to be held. So that's how I stood and enjoyed the national anthem on my own. And my dog got snuggles from the person next to her.
Right. Yeah. And Jitterbug, so 21 world championships, 40 medals. Mm-hmm. Jitterbug accounted for how many of those?
For the gold medals, maybe 2 or 3 of them. Yeah. That's it. Slice and Funky are the ones who won all the rest of them. But
so Jitterbug,
she was a great dog.
Jitterbug was the first dog you got podium with. Mm-hmm. That's got to be really exciting. She's an amazing dog. So then you get Slice.
Yeah.
So tell me about Slice a little bit. And I know Slice has a unique story, but she ended up being, such a successful dog, but never intended to be an agility dog.
No, I got her as a summer project not a project, but a summer job. I was supposed to train her and then sell her to a golf course to chase the geese. Which is a pretty awesome life for a dog.
Yeah.
But after 6 or 7 months of having her, I quickly realized that she was pretty special and that I needed to keep her. So I went crying to my mom and dad and asked them if I could keep her. And I had Jitterbug, who was only like a year or two older, so I didn't need her, obviously. But she was just really special. So I started to train her, and she was really fast. Really fast, but like really good. Good as in not naughty. Like she was fast, but she like really just wanted to do everything that I wanted her to do. I just didn't know how to handle a dog of that speed. So, and again, back then the handling was very different. I would avoid like front crosses on the landing sides of jumps because she would just smash through the jumps. You know, if I was in her way, I couldn't really get through a course very easily without her knocking a bar, but she was just really fast and really exciting. And she used to scream around the course and like make so much noise, and that would really stress me out because I couldn't think because she was like making so much noise. Right. So finally I was like, oh, this is just not working. I need to figure out how to run this dog because I saw that she, you know, had a lot of potential. So I started to learn a little bit more about handling and things like that, and I got the barking under control. So we were doing silent agility, so that was a little bit easier. So yeah, and then it just got better and better from there, and she's probably one of my most decorated dogs I've had. She's incredible. And then she started like our entire line of border collies. So I bred her, and I got Slam. We bred Slam and Hero, and then we bred them, and we got Purple and Rad, and then we bred them, and then now we have Beeline. Right. So they're, you know, she started like an entire like line of border collies for our family. Yeah. She's pretty special.
A pretty remarkable dog. Now
she was perfect.
Now all the while you are teaching dog agility at the hall, or when did that start? Was Slice the dog that we started to
I probably started teaching agility back when I was running Ping Pong, so I was teaching agility pretty early on. Obviously not to the level that I've taught like in the last couple of years, but I was teaching agility for, you know, quite a bit. And I always seemed to be successful at like regionals and nationals and things like that. And then really around 2004 is when I started to change minds and go more towards like wanting to strive for the international route. And then every dog I got after that was basically my intention was to do worlds with him.
Now, when did you start teaching like seminars and things? I mean, some of this, you know, you'd garner a lot of attention through your success on the world stage.
Yeah.
And when you talk about a dog agility career, I mean, there's lots of people who go out and train other people's dogs that never really have that kind of success. But you've had a lot of opportunities to have success as well as have a job every single week teaching dog agility.
I think that I really benefited a lot from teaching obedience classes because I learned a lot about dog training because a lot of the problems that people were having in my agility classes were directly related to dog training. Right. Agility is actually quite easy. I mean, there's lots, you know, I shouldn't say it's easy, but there's like teaching agility, and then there's teaching like obedience and basics to get agility. Sure. So, and that's the part that a lot of people skip over and don't think is important, or they struggle with because that part's really hard. Like to train a dog, there's a lot of elements, there's a lot of things to consider. There's just so many things. So I think that teaching the obedience classes and just our basic skills really helped me with that. And then with our agility classes, which I've been teaching for a long time, we had such a wide range of dogs and students that I was really able to learn a lot just from teaching. So, you know, I had my dogs and I was used to what I needed to do with them, but that was just only one avenue of dog because I typically was drawn to similar types of dogs, not necessarily breeds, but like minds of dogs. I usually had pretty motivated dogs and blah, 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 blah. Although I did have some struggles with many of my dogs as far as confidence. And,
which we can talk about in a minute.
There's a video I talked about Funky.
Yeah, and I'll link that in the
struggles with her.
If you're watching the replay, younger. That'll be in the description below.
Yeah, but I think, you know, I worked with all kinds of people with, you know, Goldens and Labs and Beagles and Shelties and Mastiffs and everything, every breed. I think we did a little survey a little while ago to see how many different breeds we had in agility. And like we were up to like 70 or something like that.
Yeah.
How many different breeds we had.
Yeah, and I love this idea.
So like you just learn so much about, which helped me even with my own dogs, even though they were totally different. Yeah. It's just the process of learning was really helpful.
And in being a teacher, you know, I talked last week in the live stream about seeing a student do something, and I think to myself, I think I do that. You know, I recognize that I've done that. And teaching the variety of breeds, the variety of dogs, and levels of students.
Oh, it's so helpful because you'll see something, and there's very rarely do I see something that I've never seen before.
Right.
Now.
Yep.
Because I've just been exposed to so much. So there's lots of times where I'll see something, and I'll be like, oh, I've seen this before, and this is how we figured it out. So it's really helpful. And I think when I started teaching seminars initially, lots of people were teaching seminars, and I sort of thought to myself, like, why would somebody want to come to my seminar? Like, what makes me more interesting to go to than somebody else? Obviously, I had success, but lots of people have success, so that wasn't really that interesting in my mind anyways.
No, this is a huge point, and it's something that you and I hear about you is that, you know, some people are great agility handlers, but they might not be might have challenges training somebody else. And I always hear that you are such a good teacher. You're a great teacher for those people, you know, because we've just talked about it. You've had so much experience doing that. And I think people really acknowledge or recognize the fact that you can help a lot of people because you've helped a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, it makes you comfortable with it.
Yeah, I find that a lot of the time if I teach a seminar, a lot of the things that we end up breaking down are dog training issues.
Yeah.
You know, it can be something like a start line, or it can be motivation, or it can be focus, or it could be getting the toy out of the dog's mouth, or it could be teaching the dog to bring the toy back, or people's timing, people's use of their voice, how they reward, when they reward. So many of those things can make or break your success in agility. And I'm a big believer that should be people's main focus when they start.
Totally, yeah. And not only are you teaching obedience at that time, but you're also teaching agility. So you're seeing like 100 dogs a week, different kinds of dog breeds, attitudes, temperaments, and stuff like that. So I think, I only say this because people are often saying to me these things. Like if I go to, and I love going to seminars with Kayl. So if anybody's planning on booking like a cool seminar with Kayl, I'd be happy to come along. But in those times, you know, people will often sit down and say, you know, she's so comfortable teaching, and she just has such a good eye for the agility dogs. And again, I think a lot of it, I'm sure, and you'd know best, that a lot of it comes from like that, the foundational learning, the foundational teaching people dog obedience, and the timing is very
experience is really important, but also your understanding of dog training and how you learned about it. I mean, I learned so much about dog training from my parents and stuff from being around that I just get how they think and what kind of information they need and that type of thing. Different dogs.
Well, in you know, the collective minds of all the dog trainers at McCann's who've had these different experiences, different dogs, you know, the shop talk stuff where you're like, oh, you know what, I had this, whatever, you know, Belgian Malinois in class today, and we had this thing, and then we tried this, and that worked. Like those conversations are really helpful.
Absolutely.
So that experience and exposure can really help out. So you mentioned briefly, we've had a video on the channel about Funky Monkey, who is a world champion mutt dog, and she is a favorite. If you guys are just jumping in on the chat, jumping in on the stream, let us know in the chat. Are you an agility handler? Are you, new to agility? Are you thinking that you might want to get your dog into agility? Because we're chatting today with 21-time world champion of dog agility, Kayl McCann, about how she started a career in dog agility. You can see the nervous tick when I say that she's a 21-time world champion, because she hates it. She's so humble, and it makes her really uncomfortable. So I'm like the hype man. Oh yeah, let's go. But I say that because she certainly has earned it, and she'd be very proud of it. Anyway, getting back to Funky Monkey, the world champion mutt dog. Talk about Funky. So Funky was a little bit of a different experience than you had with your previous dogs.
Yeah. The problem with Funky when I got her is that I was not in a good mind frame. And because I had just lost a dog shortly before getting her that was very upsetting, that sort of caused me to, in a bad accident, I lost a young border staffy dog.
And nearly ended your dog training
I sort of quit
career.
a little bit for a bit.
Right.
I just wasn't into it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I wasn't really in a great place when I got her, but then also the other like competitive part of me was, when I get a dog, I want it to be, a world champion and all these great things. So anyways, Fun was really sensitive and very aware of like me and my feelings, because we had like once I got her, my attitude towards dog training quickly changed, and I got like I dove like right back in like with 2 feet, and I just was crazy about training her and doing stuff with her, because she was such a fun dog to train. Mm-hmm. But then all the while I was sort of thinking, okay, like she's gonna be my next great dog. And Ping Pong was like older at that time, and she was basically at the point where she was retiring, and I was just starting to get Funky, so I was thinking like Ping made Funky's shoes very big to fill,
right?
Because I figured, okay, Ping Pong won all these things. She was so great. Like Funky's going to be even better. But Funky was really sensitive to pressure, and I think that she felt like I was putting too much pressure on her. She just would get stressy, and then when she would get stressy, she would get slow.
Yeah.
Only in agility. So in flyball, she was a nutcase. In every other part of her life, she was like super motivated and crazy. But there was something about agility that she just wasn't really that into. So that was a huge struggle for us. So we, obviously we worked through that, and now she's fantastic. Mm-hmm. But she taught me a lot about dog training, and a lot about, not caring so much. And that probably sounds really strange.
Yeah. I think this is so important.
The moment I stopped caring so much about her doing well, and more cared about like her attitude and how she was feeling about agility and how we were sort of working together, that like loosened the pressure, and then it was like a whole new ball game after that.
And this could really, this may be applicable to some agility handlers out there. If they're watching the stream right now or watching this on the replay, you had success with your previous dogs, mm-hmm. and you just had an expectation that it was going to go a similar way. It was going to be just as challenging or whatever. But you recognized that Funky was sensitive. Funky was sensitive to the pressure. So you had to, take some of that pressure off, and you got more dog out of her.
Yeah. Something else I would like to talk about at a different time, maybe on a live stream, is at that time when I got Fun, so that was like 9 years ago now, 10 years ago, mm-hmm. The international handling scene was starting to get bigger in our country. So a lot of the time when I was doing training with her, the training was like very fancy.
Sure.
Like there was a lot of turns, there was a lot of like, it was just harder agility. And I, thank goodness, started to realize that style of training was not complimentary of what I needed to be doing with that dog at that time. So I was a good dog trainer, so she had excellent skills. She had beautiful equipment understanding. She had all kinds of independence, commitment, all that stuff. She was very, very well trained, but her mind wasn't there. She wasn't putting her whole heart into it, mm-hmm. Because it was just not a very motivating way to do agility. So instead of entering her in a competition, because skill-wise she was ready, I could have gone to regionals, I could have gone to nationals, I could have tried out for the world team, and I probably would have made it because she has good skills. But I wasn't happy with like our performance together as a team, and I wasn't like getting that feel-good feel out of running her. I was stressed running her because I was worried about her being stressed, and then it was like this big stress ball circle that was like awful.
Yeah, which can be really impactful.
Yeah, so then I just decided that I was going to wait an extra year before I did any competing with her, and then I just changed my style of training to make things a little bit more motivating, and then a year later it was like we had like a completely different teamwork.
Yeah. And if you're watching this on the replay, I will post a card right here now, something to talk about Funky, but it's quite an amazing story, and to hear Kayl work through some of those problems. And that's, occasionally we'll see that in a student. You know, they really intensely want their dog to be successful, and that pressure's a little bit too much on the dog.
And the dog's like, don't.
Yeah, and from the inside looking out, maybe it's hard to see. Mm-hmm. But from the outside looking in as an instructor, you can recognize it, and it's hard to,
and it's one of
gently.
those, I find it really challenging to help people with it, because you can tell people, don't do this, don't be like this. This is what happens when you're like that.
It's too stressful,
unless they can actually internally change how they feel about the situation, they will not be successful.
Yeah.
And I've had to have lots of heart-to-hearts with people and tell them about my story, and like really stress to them the importance of changing their mindset. And some people have been able to do it and some people have not. So it's hard.
And if you're not an agility handler and but you've trained in some obedience, you can see a comparable thing in something like the stays.
Oh,
if somebody's
you can see stress in all kinds of
it transfers right down the leash. Or if you're on the agility field, it can transfer directly to your dog.
So related to how the handler responds to it.
Yes, absolutely, for sure. And so to take us back for a moment, talking last week about Deacon, my black lab, when I was an agility student, I would struggle. We have some trouble with the weaves. And Deacon was good, and then we struggled with the weaves a little bit, later on in our training. And Kayl would say to me, like, if she pops the weaves, don't make a big deal of it, because I'd seen success. I would just get deflated.
Yeah.
And it was so helpful. And then Kayl would literally, like, we were running the dogs one day, and we decided to go into the arena and let them have a good run around. And Kayl just started running Deacon and agility, like was just running a random course, and she like nailed a challenging weave entry. All 12 poles, head down, driving through, but Kayl had there was no emotional connection to it. She just did it. And it was at that moment that it really sunk in for me that I can see that how my emotions can impact her or impact a dog. It also allowed me to see how, our student their emotional state may impact the dog. It was quite remarkable. It was one of those, it was an epiphany. It was one of those aha moments, but it was really, really helpful for me. But if you want to know any more about Funky Monkey, we have a video on the channel, and it's pretty great. And I'll link it for you guys in the replay down below, or you can find it on the channel.
You know how you have like some dogs that just like, even when you say Funky Monkey, like I just smile.
Yeah.
Because she's just
right. No, I get it. Her. See, now it's infectious. I've got a case of the smiles, and I think about Deegan and the impact that she's had. I just smile. You know what I could do with her? I'm thinking about Rad now. Look at this smile. I can't help it. Or Mac. I mean, it's adorable. They're all cute.
Oh, Mac.
They're great. So when did you, I don't remember if I've asked this now, but when did you start going away? Like, what was that first time doing a dog agility seminar? You said you really never felt like, why would people want, me to come and train them? But when it happened, talk about that experience for a second, even if you don't remember specifically where it was, but talk about like how that felt.
I don't quite remember when I started doing it, maybe in 2010.
Yeah.
Or something.
But talk about that. How did you, when you were first going out there, you had a long history in training in dog agility, training dog obedience. You were very good at teaching.
Yeah, well, I was nervous when I went because I wasn't really sure if there was something that I would be able to do that like they couldn't just get from somebody else. But then I quickly realized that teaching seminars was a way to like impact people that I had not met before, like right then and there, like in the live flesh, which I really liked. And there was like so many little things you could tweak, especially too. I like going in when I haven't seen somebody before, because often, because I'm a fresh pair of eyes, you'll see something that maybe other people hadn't seen. Mm-hmm. Or it can be something so subtle. And then when you tell them about it, they're like, wow, like that was so small, but like it really impacted such a big thing.
Sure.
And again, that dog training thing was really, the dog training portion of it was really helpful. But yeah, I don't know. It was fun. I really enjoy teaching seminars.
Yeah, I know. And so what are some of the unique places that you've gotten to travel all over the world? Because I know there are some that I'm very envious of, and one that we're going back to, in fact, one place. But we had Funky on Kayl's lap earlier, and she was petting her, and now
I have so much Funky
hair everywhere. And to see her touching her nose all the time, and I can see
it's because I have like little hairs in my nose. I know I've taught all over the States, in all kinds of different places, South Carolina. I go to New Jersey a lot, all over the place. I've taught in Germany before, in Finland,
in Hawaii.
Yeah,
which we'll be going back to next April.
Yes,
Next April
for
their wedding. Not May.
Yeah, lots of places. And what I really like is like when I go to different places, and I found this when I was judging for a little while too, is when you go to a different place, the trends and the styles are very different from what you know.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll go somewhere and like there's like something that's popular there that is different from where
like what would that thing be?
It could be like how they train something, like contacts, for example, or like handling choices, or trends. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I definitely noticed that. And sometimes I learn from those things and then come back and, bring it with me. And other times I come back and I go, wow, I'm so lucky.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I'll tell you the one thing that we've been to some really great facilities for competition and stuff, but I'm so grateful for the McCann Dogs agility facility.
Yes.
It's really, really nice.
That's one of the main reasons why I stopped traveling around, because I was going away and teaching in these cold buildings on hard dirt, and like the people and everything, that was great for sure. But when you come back and you stand on like a squishy floor and you're never cold.
Yeah, it's really, really nice. We're really lucky.
And,
we often overlook that. We just don't think about it. Like
I don't overlook it. I love it.
Yeah, well, it's easy. It's easy to do. But I've just lost my train of thought. Oh, so if you guys are agility handlers and you have an agility question for Kayl, drop it in the chat. If you're on Facebook, you definitely want to go over to YouTube so that your voice can be heard. You can be included in the chat. And I know we have a lot of our viewers on Facebook. People don't leave the app because Facebook wants you to stay in there. But if this is your first time on YouTube, then if you're on desktop, the chat window's over there, and I always think it's over there, and it's like over there. It's on the side. But if you're on mobile, it's just below, and you can click the button for live chat. So this brings us to today, where you are teaching how many agility classes a week? Like 12 or something?
13.
13 agility classes every week, as well as like 3 or 4 dog obedience classes every week. You have,
along with my instructors, though I don't teach them all by myself. I have help.
Yes, yeah, and amazing instructors that you've taken great time and care to make sure.
They're awesome.
They are, and actually one is heading to World Agility Open.
Yes, she leaves today for her world adventure.
Yeah.
We've been on so many world teams together, and this is the first time we have not been together, and she's going solo, and I'm so excited for her.
So good luck.
Jamie and Wink.
Yeah, good luck to you,
bestie.
Jamie. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was sad saying bye to her yesterday. She's gone for 2 weeks. I don't know. We don't really spend that much time apart from each other.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
I know. I have to. I'm sure you'll stay in contact via text or something like that. Yes,
absolutely.
So let's talk about today, where you are. We have Rad, who you're competing with and you've had some success with, and Beeline, and she's in like some of the foundational stages of agility, but like your training schedule with them, your training plan with them, very briefly, sort of an overview of what you're doing with Rad and what you're
like, what it's supposed to be or what it is currently right this second.
Well, I mean, so that's a good point, because some people that are training in agility may think like, I need to have my dog in the on the training 5 times a week, 4 times a week. But
that's a good point.
Yeah, what really are you doing with those dogs?
I don't really train very much, to be honest with you. For a couple reasons. Number one, I don't have a lot of time. I don't have a lot of energy.
Sure.
And I'm the type of person that I'm either all in or I'm all out. I can't be like half in. So if I'm going to train and I'm not like fully invested, then I just can't do it. It's just, I don't know. It's just not my personality. So most of the time I'll do like little stuff with them. I have B in classes. So that I at least get an hour to train her.
In agility classes.
In Jamie and Ken's class, actually. They're my teachers.
Yes, yeah. And basically, for Kayl, I just tell her when her time is up. I don't have to offer much, advice unless it's something like really that she may not have seen. Yeah, or I'll hang out with Beeline. So that's a great student when they go through all of the different stations. I like when they get to mine because I get to cuddle with Beeline. Yeah. But anyway, so she's in classes.
Yeah. So I think the main thing that I do is try to keep them in shape, so that they stay fit. I train a couple times a week, I would say. Yeah. The length of time for each dog probably would like build up to maybe be for a whole week. I don't know, less than an hour.
Yeah, so like maybe 20 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they get a break.
Yeah. The odd time, depending on what I'm doing. I don't, sometimes I'll do courses and sequences and stuff if I have something that I need to be working on, like timing or whatever. But a lot of the time I'm doing skills. So I'll do like a little bit with one dog and then put them away and then bring another dog out and do a little bit and then switch. So they get like a couple turns, but their turns are only like maybe 6 or 7 minutes at a time.
Okay.
Very short and sweet. But I also, like, I have Funky, who is 10 and a half now. And there's really nothing I need to train her to do at this point. But we do need to keep our teamwork. We need to keep our timing. I need to keep her fit. We leave for the World Championships. I'm going to in 3 weeks. And basically right now, from now until then, it's all about keeping her safe so she doesn't get hurt.
Yep.
And just keeping her fit and loose and, just doing little finessey things because there's nothing really I can do between now and then that I shouldn't have already done.
Yeah, and you know
before now. So it's all about attitude.
I think future live stream, maybe in the next couple of weeks we can do, or maybe after you go away, but we can talk about fitness and like just keeping some of the stretching and activities, and we can maybe even do it from the McCann Dogs Agility Arena. I think that would be really cool.
I will tell you
to have that as a backdrop. I mean, this is a cool backdrop. I think so. Anyway, I've worked pretty hard to build it, but I think having the Agility Arena as a backdrop would be very cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I will tell you that one of the things I'm most looking forward to is getting home from Worlds and not having any more big competitions to do for the whole year, because I decided just to not really do the whole competing thing this year.
Right.
No queue chasing, no trying to try out for world teams anymore for this year. That's it. So when I get home, it's all about Beeline.
Right.
She's going to be, and I'm so excited because I haven't been able to like really do a lot with her because she can't be my focus when I have Worlds coming up.
Sure.
Funky has to be the focus.
Yep.
Brad has to be the focus. Slam has to be the focus. So I cannot wait to train her. She's so fun.
Yeah, and this is where, as an agility handler, somebody who's really competitive can feel overwhelmed, when you get into these scenarios preparing for the World Championship.
All these people that have all of these dogs, you're crazy. I don't know how you do that.
Well, I mean, we have 7.
We do,
probably think
and
we're crazy.
I know. I'm part of it. I don't wish that we didn't have any of our dogs. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But I would love to have less competitive dogs.
And be able to focus on just like 2 or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so hard to keep them all at tip-top shape and to train them all and to be, to be successful with them all. It's like, I feel like it's a full-time job. And I find it very overwhelming sometimes. Yeah,
so at the beginning of the week, do you just sort of plan out, like, I know I'm going to work with this dog and that dog and this dog on these days? Yeah, or is it kind of like you get this feeling like, okay, tonight, because you're at the arena already, tonight I'm going to train Rad and Beeline or something?
Yeah, I kind of do that. I try to train, It's a short answer, yes.
Right, yeah. I mean,
I look at the week and I look at the lesson plans that I have, and then I decide sort of who I want to do each week at what night. I typically don't train all of them on one night, but if I don't train them, then they're obviously doing other things like going for a walk. And by walk, I mean, like, I don't walk my dogs in a leash, like, around. I mean, like, go for, like, a run. Like, they get exercise walking in the fields, and, like, they really, get good exercise. So they'll do that every day, and then on top of that, some of them will get training and some of them won't.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm lazy and I just throw a ball for them.
Right. Well, I think this is really important because some people might be of the mindset that you bring your dog, your agility dog out, you place them in the agility ring, and you do your training, and then you take your dog home, and you might go for a leash walk or something like that. But it's kind of like cross training in sports. There's in any sport, you do the activity, whether it's whatever, hockey, baseball, some team sport, but you also do something like cycling, or you do something else that it's great. It provides the body some stability, and it just lessens the likelihood of something of injury. It also psychologically, I'm sure it's good for the dogs to just go out and go for a run with each other. It's not about the world isn't focused on the agility ring. Yeah, it's got to be helpful for them.
Agility is just a piece.
Yeah, just a piece of the big puzzle. I think it's important for everybody to know. Well, we're almost an hour in. I want to, if anybody has any agility questions, drop them in the chat. But or if you're watching this on the replay, you can drop any questions or comments in the comments below, and we're pretty active checking out our comment section. But I want to thank Kayl for talking about her career as a dog agility competitor, handler, trainer, and teacher. I hope you guys were able to learn something in today's live stream. We have a whole section of like dog agility vlogs where you can see Kayl and I and all of our dogs were training and competing. Yeah, we have some really fun vlogs from like Cynosport and actually
from Worlds last year.
Yeah, from Worlds last year. So I'll link those in the description after the stream, or you guys can go check them out now. I forget how they're titled, but if you find our dog agility vlogs, they'll definitely be in there. But I wanted to mention, if this is your first time on the channel and you consider your dog a member of the family, then make sure you hit that subscribe button, because we publish videos every single week to help you spend some quality time with your four-legged family member. So Chandlin has asked a great question. I think this is a good question to take just before we break. So Chandlin Blake,
tip you
give for foundation for a new puppy as a 13-week-old border collie.
At 13 weeks, I would be focusing on teaching my dog to retrieve.
Yeah. And this is really funny because this is such an overlooked
basically
skill.
When Beeline was that age, I did trick training. I did so that she was learning how to learn. I did like very minimal but fun body awareness exercise with shaping, just to get her to think about her body, like things like back up, stand on top of a little box, things that were easy for her body. And then we did a lot of teaching her to tug and retrieve the toy right back to my hand as a baby puppy. It was also a way that I could exercise her up and down the hallway. I had her as a winter puppy, which totally sucked. Well, I don't want to do that again anytime soon. But so I had to find ways to tire her out so that she wasn't driving me crazy. But
that does a lot, like retrieving, when you talk about that specifically, like it builds some focus, some drive.
Oh, the amount of time that when I teach a seminar that I can't drop a toy for a dog because they'll run away with a toy, or people can't get the toy to the mouth, or they give the dog a toy and then it laps around the hall for 3 minutes and they're only getting 7 minutes of their turn and they can't get the dog back. Drives me bananas. Well, I feel frustrated because I feel like I could be helping them with something else.
Yeah, and I think
other than that, so
as obedience trainers,
retrieving.
As obedience trainers, we recognize how much is lost when the dog has that sort of tendency to take the toy, run away, and run around. But also, just think about it quite simply. That's like 400 extra yards that your dog has run during your turn. Or so I mean, it's not effective and efficient training. But
as a puppy in that age, all the things that I said, and just basically building a relationship. We have other things on this too, but at that age, I also segregate my puppy from my other dogs completely. Yeah, like 100%.
Right. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, because then I can start to work on relationship and bonding and all that kind of stuff. So I know not a lot of people do that, or maybe they disagree with it, but it works.
Right. Well, and it's worked how many times? 5
continuously.
With all of our dogs over, in your case, multiple jump heights, etc. But you can always.
I would never do it any other way.
No, I know. You just see, and part of it is because we see so many students that come in and say, I'm having trouble getting my dog to pay attention, or stays or distractions,
my dog just wants to chase the other dog.
Right, and
my
this
dog's
is
attached to the other dog.
Right, absolutely. So, and I mean, I get it. I kind of understand, because I did this when I was, and we talked about this earlier, before I knew anything about family dog training, is you think that they're going to be buddies. You think that it's good for the other dog.
Now.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. You just don't. At the time, you think it's good for them to just be able to hang out and play together.
The one thing that I love so much, and all of my dogs do this, but B being a year and a half, she's the one that I notice it most. So she's integrated with all of our other dogs now. No big deal. When I let them out in the morning, everybody goes outside, and she goes out and then turns around and comes back in, and then she jumps up on me and snuggles her head in as if to say, "Good morning, mommy." And then goes out again. Like, she chooses me over all of those other dogs because of all of that like one-on-one time we spend together. And I have to do things a bit differently because obviously we have a lot of dogs. So if you have just one dog or two dogs, life's a lot easier. But when you have like a ton of dogs, think about all the individual attention your first dog got and that your other dogs didn't. So when I get a new dog, I like to isolate them so that they really get that like full blown attention. And it just means you have to divide your time a bit more. Like having a puppy is, oh my gosh, I am like no more puppies for a really long time because it's a lot of work.
Right.
But it's fun. I like.
Yeah. Well, and
puppy training is my favorite.
We talk. Yeah. Oh yeah. I know. Kayl loves puppy training, and in our Head Start for Puppies class, I can't help but like be happy when I go into those obedience classes. Like it's so adorable. Smart. I know. And people are just so like happy when the puppy will lie down or sit or whatever. Like it's just so gratifying.
People are just so surprised when like baby puppies can do stuff. It's like there's a brain in there that wants to do stuff.
Well, we talked for a moment about like being efficient, multiple dog household, or even if you're a one dog household and you're really busy, but being efficient with that training, I mean, having that dog separated from the other dogs is one way of doing that because you don't have to struggle with distractions. You don't have to struggle with the dog not, understanding that you are of great value. So that's really, really helpful. And Chandler Blake did mention that sounds like the stuff that she's doing, which is really good.
That's great.
You talked for a moment about how going around to different places, you get to help lots of people. You get to meet lots of people. And that's how I kind of feel about the YouTube community, because we have a great YouTube community on this channel. And I want to thank you guys for joining. Now, this live stream, normally our live streams are going to happen at 7 o'clock at night, but we have something pretty cool happening tonight. And if you visit the channel on Monday at 1, Monday at 1, I'll have a video all about what we were doing because our published time is 1 o'clock. But normally our live streams, our McCann Dogs lives, will be at 7 o'clock at night. So, keep that in mind if you're looking forward to a, next week's or whatever. More than likely it's going to be at Friday at 7. With that, I want to thank you guys for watching the channel. I want to thank Kayl for all of her fun stories and learning more about, how her career as an agility handler and coach started. But on that note, I want to wish you guys happy training and bye for now. See you guys.